Hi there. Welcome to our PD today. We're focusing today on executive functioning skills, specifically the script for learning. So when we're talking about the skills that we need to learn new things and get things done. So we're going to be taking on a pre-K lens. So we're going to be looking at kind of those really early executive functioning skills and what our little guys need to learn to set them up for success for their future schooling. So let's get started. So yes, executive functioning skills. So if we think about what those are, they are those skills that we need to learn anything new, or those things just to get those skills that we need to get things done. And where are these located in our brain? So if we think about our brain, these skills are located in that kind of frontal lobe of our brain, right behind our forehead. So if you're thinking, if you put your hand on your forehead, right behind your skull, and that very front part of our brain is where these skills are developed. And there's a cluster of a number of different skills, but what they all have in common is that there are things that we need to do to be able to execute a task, or what we need to be able to do to like learn new things, learn new contexts, learn new skills. So there's about, I think, 11 that I've got in this presentation, but there's 3 or 4 of them that are really kind of, we're going to be focusing on for our little kind of 3 and 4-year-old pre-Kers. And that's what we're referring to as the script for learning. So let's have a look at them. So the first one, when we think about executive functioning, is that response inhibition. So that's the ability to stop. And we're going to get into kind of what this means later on. So I'm just going to kind of go through what the different skills are. And the ones that are highlighted in red are the ones that we're really going to be focusing on for that script for learning for our little guys. Second one, working memory. Emotional control. So being able to, control those emotions so that we can get things done and it's not impacting our performance. Flexibility, that's another executive functioning skill. So, are we flexible enough to be able to roll with the punches? Or if things change, does that totally stop our day, or are we able to move past it? So flexibility is one of those executive functioning skills that's important throughout our lives. Sustained attention, so you'll see that's highlighted in red. So that's that ability to kind of look and listen. So of course that's important when we're trying to learn new things. So that is a piece that we're going to be looking at for our little guys. And then task initiation, so that's do. So once we've stopped and we look and we're listening, then are we able to carry through what's being with what is being asked of us to do? So are we able to get started and do what we're supposed to be doing? And these ones that are coming up on the right-hand side, these are kind of, we can start working on them early, but they might be a little bit more appropriate for like older ages. So planning, organization, time management, goal-directed persistence. So can we start a task and finish it? And metacognition. And metacognition is thinking about thinking. So the bigger picture. Making a plan, all of those things kind of are incorporated into that metacognition. So making a plan, thinking about, okay, how am I going to make this happen? What do I need to do to make this happen? So that higher level language, or that higher level thinking. So those are the 11 skills that kind of fall under that executive functioning skills. And again, I said we're going to be focusing on the ones that are highlighted in the red. So just food for thought. So these skills that we need to get things done and learn new things, are they things that just gradually emerge over time according to like some sort of like internal timetable, kind of like the way that vision develops with infants, like when a baby is first born, their vision acuity isn't as well developed as it is for us, right? And that kind of gets better and better over time. So our executive functioning skills that way, learn through practice. So the way that infants learn to walk. So in order for an infant to be able to like to sit and then crawl and then stand and then walk, it takes a lot of practice for them to get to that point where they're actually walking. So our executive functioning skills like that, learn through modeling and shaping. So the way a child learns language is that they're exposed to it and they hear the adults around them talking. So our executive functioning skills, are they learned through that same mode, through modeling and shaping? Or are they explicitly taught? So the way that, we teach kids to read. So are these executive functioning skills, do they need to be taught explicitly, and do each of them need to be directly taught in order for children to pick them up? So that was just kind of, food for thought. Well, really, right? Let's see, I'm going to go back for a second. Probably most of those things apply. Through the modeling and shaping. Some kids might be just stronger, just naturally stronger than other children in their development of their executive functioning skills. Is it the adult modeling? Probably it is the adult in their environment modeling, like how we do these things. And for some kids with challenges in this area, they actually do need to be explicitly taught. So I think it was, it was a few years back. I was in one of our pre-K classrooms, and the teacher was trying to get them to do something, and I was just kind of standing back and kind of observing, and I just noticed, and it just hit me. I'm like, these kids don't have the script for learning. They actually don't know how to stop, look, and listen. And no fault of their own, just that it's something, they're little, they're 3 and 4 years old. So yes, some of those skills are probably just starting to develop. But I was thinking to myself, like, how can we help these kids be more successful? So then we started doing some more explicit teaching around that script for learning, and we actually saw some really good gains. And when the kids moved on to kindergarten, they had that script for learning. If it was not fully developed, at least it was in the process of being developed. So when they went on to kindergarten, I remember their teacher saying, "Oh man, these guys know how to stop, look, and listen." So it is one of those skills that we can start early teaching, and it's effective in helping our kids be more successful in that school setting. Let's see what's next here. So all skills improve with practice. So the more you practice, the better the skill. And it becomes more automatic. So practice also makes that task or things that are being asked of them less effortful, right? So less effortful, so probably more enjoyable as well. So again, I know I keep going back to that script for learning. So one of the foundational executive functioning skills is the script for learning, and it is one that we actually work on directly with our little ones in our pre-K classrooms. So it really depends. I mean, every child is different. So when they come into, say, our pre-K classroom in September, school is new for them typically, and they might come in with varying abilities around that script for learning. So Dr. Megan Hodge, she's out of the University of Alberta. She was actually one of my professors when I was doing my master's in speech and language. And she's a very big proponent of the script for learning, and that it really needs to be solidified in order for our kids to be able to listen to a story, be able to follow directions, be able to complete whatever's being asked of them, be able to be a part of the group and learning in a group setting. So your child might come in with a script for learning that is not developed. So that means that the child does not demonstrate the ability to watch an adult, to wait, to listen, or to copy a model. And that's okay. Everyone comes in at different skill levels, right? But our idea is that we're going to move them along the continuum to strengthen those skills. They might come in with a script for learning that is totally undeveloped, or they could come in where it's emerging. So the child occasionally can watch an adult, but it kind of has great difficulty waiting for a model. So they might like briefly look, but then they're distracted and off and running, right? And so they're not seeing what, say, their teacher is saying or doing. So that would be where it's emerging. You're getting that that brief glance or that brief attention. And then maybe it's somewhat developed. So a child watches and listens to an adult and waits for a model, but needs frequent reminders to continue to watch and listen and to wait. So they know that it's important that they stop and they look and they listen, but they just can't maintain that, right? So they need some gentle reminders. Oh, don't forget to look at your teacher. Remember, we're going to turn on our listening ears. And then some kids come in with that well-developed. So a child can watch, they can listen to an adult, they can wait for a model or wait for the teacher to give them an example. And they need few, if any, reminders to kind of watch and listen and wait. And so if I'm speaking from a speech and language perspective, when we're working on speech sounds with kids or we're working on language targets, it is really, really helpful if the child does have a well-developed script for learning, or they're in the process of developing that. Because a lot of speech practice is them having to look at you, look at your face, see what your lips are doing, see what your tongue is doing, maintain that attention so that then they can watch, they can listen, but then they can copy or do, they can try it themselves. And we all know that we learn through imitation. That's one of our main ways that we learn new things. So as a speech therapist, I'm really invested in helping kids develop this script for learning so that we can see some really nice progress with their speech and language skills. But that can carry over to any other aspect of learning as well. But of course, that's my perspective because I'm a speech language pathologist. But yeah, so there's those different, so if they come in with it not developed at all, our goal is to help them go towards more that emerging or that somewhat developed. Again, if they come in with it emerging, we want to kind of push them ahead so that they can get to that well-developed. Yeah, so the ultimate goal is establishing a well-developed script for learning. Excuse me. Yeah, let's see. So the script for learning, what is a script for learning? So we keep it simple for our little guys. So basically we're saying stop. You can see the visual there. We're saying stop, look. So we want to look and then listen. So those three, if we get too much, if we put too many steps in there or we get too complicated, then it's kind of lost on our little guys. So we try and keep the language simple and keep the steps simple as well. So basically stop, look, listen, so that they can be active learners and engaged in what's happening in the classroom. So let's see. So I know we just looked at this slide, but I just want to show you how those executive functioning skills that we talked about earlier, there were the 11 of them, correspond with our script for learning. So it's the same slide. So you'll see the response inhibition, meaning stop. So that's like, are you able to like, yeah, inhibit your action? You want to be able to stop. So that stop directly correlates with our stop sign right here. So stop. So that's really that response inhibition. So we're just making it a little bit simpler for our little guys. So then there was the working memory, the emotional control, the flexibility, and all those things are worked on through play in our classrooms. But we're really, really wanting to target this script for learning. So the next one is sustained attention. So that, if we take it back to is that really look and listen. So we get the stop, look, and listen. So if we go back to that other visual, you can see the look and listen. right? So that's that sustained attention. So we've got the response inhibition here, and then we got sustained attention through our look and listen. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit there, just to show you how we're linking those concepts. So let's look at that first one. That first part of that script for learning is really the stop, right? And we use visuals in the classroom. I have a visual strip here. You can see these, the stop, look, listen. We've added on here wait, because lots of our little kids can be impulsive, right? So they'll stop, look, and listen, but then they don't wait and they're off and running. So a big part of it too is wait, and then their ability to copy a model or do what's being asked of them. So the main part is stop, look, listen, but then we've also added in our wait and do, or you do. So looking at that first part, that stop, that response inhibition. So really that's the capacity to think before you act. The ability to resist the urge to say or do something allows us the time to kind of evaluate the situation and what we should be doing in that moment, right? So that's a long explanation for a little person. So we really are like, stop. And so what does that mean for, let's look at another visual, which is a little more age appropriate for our little guys. Let's see here. So yeah, so stop and think. So does your body ever move too fast for your brain, right? So we've got lots of kids that are wiggly in the classroom. And so, yeah, we're teaching them what does stop actually mean, right? So stop what you're doing. So kids will be playing, you know how they get very engrossed in their play. So we want them to, when they hear stop or when they see the stop sign, then they're going to stop what they're doing. Toys get put down and they're stopping what they're doing. And then freeze. Also, how else can we teach stop? Well, you could freeze. Like there's those freeze dance, green light, red light, green light. But like they love those freeze dance songs. So that's a great way to teach stop. So freeze, and then you would pair it with stop. So this is what actually stop means, because some kids don't know actually what stop means. So even stopping, if their body's running really fast and we're getting to stop, but they're still kind of vibrating, and then we could take a few deep breaths, like stop. Okay, so everyone's stopping, calming down, slowing down, and then thinking about what to do next. So we're stop, and then because we're doing stop, look, listen, thinking about, okay, now I have to look, I got to stop, and now I have to look at who's talking. And then sometimes get help if you need it. Sometimes in the classroom, we do have lots of support, which is nice. At home, it might just be you and your child, right? But we're lucky in the classroom that if they need help stopping, then we can gently give them some support around that. Whether we're using the visual or we're like, see what our friends are doing. Look, they all have quiet bodies, right? So stop and think. So that's the first step of our script for learning. Let's see. And sorry, I'm going to go back one because it is called, I just want to make sure that we're linking the stop for the script for learning with the response. So the actual executive functioning skill is called response inhibition. But in our pre-K language, we're calling it stop. So, I am going to play a video, and it is all about that response inhibition. I don't know if you guys have heard about the marshmallow test. So it was a research project done looking at children's ability to resist eating a marshmallow when it's placed in front of them, with the idea that if they don't eat it, that they'll get a second one if they can resist and they can inhibit themselves and not go ahead and eat it. So I'm going to play a video. The first one is kind of outlining the research around it, and it just has some key findings, which I think are really interesting regarding future school success. And then the second video is the actual children doing the marshmallow test, which is just really, really cute. So I wanted to show you that. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, the marshmallow test. All right, so some interesting things there. Just showing that, yeah, kids that were able to wait the 15 minutes later in life showed that they were more successful in their educational journeys. But defending the little kids, 15 minutes is a long time. When we're in the classroom, we do have to be really cognizant of when we're getting kids to stop, look, and listen and do kind of learning activity. When we're working with kind of 3 and 4-year-olds or even 5-year-olds, developmentally, 15 minutes is pretty long time to have to sit there and focus and attend. So we do try and be cognizant of that. And if we're doing something that takes a bit longer, like we might aim for like 10 minutes, a circle time of 10 minutes. If it's longer than that, then we might break it up with some movement breaks to help them get their wiggles out. And yeah, so we do have to remember that they are only little as well. So our expectations need to be realistic. But so that was kind of just the research, a little bit of the research around it. So I want to show you now the actual marshmallow test. Hopefully my video will work. So you can see the reactions of the children.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have two. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right. I'm gonna go do something and then I'll come back.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
All right, so it's up to you. You can have it now or you can wait. Okay? I'll be back. Stay in the chair, okay? Okay. right, so I'm going to leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do? Did you do good? You did?
Yeah.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need them.
All right. So that was super cute. You could see how difficult it was for them, even though some of them were able to do it. But man, like they were wiggling, they were like, oh, you could tell like they were struggling. They were being torn, like, do I, don't I? But you could see too, the older kids, well, some of the older kids were able to do it, even though it was hard for them. Whereas you could see once the kids got a little bit younger, that response inhibition or that ability to stop just isn't as well developed, right? So right in the mouth and started to eat it as soon as she gave the marshmallow to, I think it was the last little girl there with the red hair. It just automatically went into her mouth. And then the other little one, I think she was a little blonde one. And so she was able to hold off a little bit, but not very long, right? So she was nibbling her way at it too. And you could see the way the kids, their body language and the twins were kind of like wiggling around in their chair and banging their head on the table. So it was really, really hard for them to be able to do that. So I think in the research, it said a third of the 600 kids actually waited. So yeah, so definitely that response inhibition or that ability to kind of stop and think is something that's just starting to develop in those early kind of 3-4-year-old age. And by us helping to explicitly teach it, especially with kids like that maybe come into a program with like some challenges or some delays in a variety of different areas, that skill might be more difficult for them, right? So they might need a little bit of explicit teaching of how we stop, how we look, how we listen, how we wait, and then how we actually do what's being asked of us. So anyway, I like those videos just to kind of show that ability to stop and think. So the next one, so that was the stop. The next one, part of that script for learning is the look and listen, which would be when we look at our corresponding executive functioning skill as that sustained attention. So that's the capacity to maintain attention to a situation or a task in spite of being easily distracted, tired, bored, but still being able to know that you need to pay attention and you need to look. So being able to sustain that attention is important when you're learning new things or you're carrying out what's being asked of you. I just want to show you another video. It's very quick. There's no sound to this one, but it just shows a little boy that is doing a 10-minute, it's a 10-minute task. One is where he's watching a Star Wars movie, and then the same little guys beside, you can see it side by side, is watching or doing a math assignment. And we'll just look and see what his attention and focus is like in both of those situations. Okay, so yes, this is the same student, 10-minute time lapse. So on the right-hand side, you see he's watching Star Wars and he's sitting there quite quietly with minimal movement. And then on the left-hand side, he's watching a math video. And you can see that he's spinning and wiggling and doing lots and lots of movement, right? So now we got to think about kind of what the task demand is there, right? So in the Star Wars, it's probably minimal demand. It's enjoyable. It's kind of a passive activity. So he's able to sit there quietly and kind of watch that Star Wars. But if we look at the math video where he's spinning and turning and wiggling, but we got to think of what the demand is there. So he needs more of those executive functioning skills to be able to kind of focus his attention on what's being said in the video. He's got to think about maybe, okay, how do I do this? Am I able to do this equation? Am I able to? So it's definitely a learning task. So some kids, especially kids if they have, say, ADHD, in order to access their brain's executive functioning skills in the frontal lobe there, right behind the forehead, they need to move in order to access those executive functioning skills. So that's an important piece. You might be at home and your kiddo might be, if you're doing something with them, and they might be all over the place, but just having that forethought of like, okay, maybe they need to move in order to access those skills that they need to be able to carry out this activity. And at school, too important for teachers to realize too that, okay, in order for him to be able to be successful in math class or in science class, or then in order for him to be able to access those skills, he needs to focus and attend. He needs to be there. He or she needs to be moving their body. That's what is allowing them to access those executive functioning skills, or those skills to pay attention. So even though it seems like they probably aren't paying attention, you will. I do see it in class too with our wiggly little kids, and you think that they're not listening, but then you ask a question, they're able to answer it. But if we were asking them to like be, sit, don't move, like maybe they wouldn't be able to focus that attention, right, and access those executive functioning skills. So everybody learns differently. Everybody's different. So it's getting to know our kids. I mean, your kids well, so just getting to know what works for them, but it's not one size fits all. So there are cases where we access those executive functioning skills differently from one kid to another. So just keeping that in mind. So talking about that sustained attention, when we look at, let's bring it down to our pre-K language, that's our look and listen. So we've done our stop, and now look and listen. So yeah, is it ever hard to stay focused and pay attention? Of course it is, right? Especially when you're in a busy classroom too, when there's lots of distractions and lots of fun things to look at and be interested in, and maybe like your friend is on the other side of the classroom doing something else and you're really interested in what they're doing. So it's hard to kind of look and listen and sustain your attention when there's all these other things going on. So looking up and listening. Yeah. So being an active learner, that's important. So like for those little friends that are having trouble with that sustained attention or being distracted, making sure they're kind of up front and center. So right in front of the teacher, or at home, like if you have, you have your 3 kiddos running around and you're trying to get so-and-so's attention, like, getting down to their level and having them right in front of you in that kind of really active learning position is important so that they can see what you're saying and see what you're doing. Using a signal or a time, sometimes in our classrooms, you'll see teachers say hands on top, that means stop, right? So an action maybe like that can be a signal to your child or to our students that, okay, it's time to stop, look and listen, right? Yeah, making sure that we talked about it, that kind of developmentally appropriate length of time where we're expecting them to have that sustained attention. So if it's something that's going to take longer, maybe we have to break it up and like put a stretch break or a movement break in there. And then there's always like seating options, different seating options. Some kids just need to move. So maybe they don't have to sit down. Maybe they're on a wiggle chair, or maybe they get to stand at the back of the group. Or maybe they get to stand at their table rather than sitting at the table so that they can maybe rock back and forth. So just knowing that, like I said, it's not one size fits all, and having different seating options or different options for them to be able to access learning. Yeah, so that look and listen is kind of the last part of that script for learning. And we're gonna go into how do we actually teach each of these components to our little guys, because they're little. So, and we're just we got to just think that we're just building, like it's building blocks. We're building the foundation for them to be able to achieve great school success, right? So we're building that foundation for those executive functioning skills, so that if we have a good foundation, then we can build brick by brick, right? And make them stronger and stronger and stronger, which will help them in the long run. All right, so yes, look and listen is the same as sustained attention. And then I do have it on this visual. I didn't have it in the slide visual, but we have the stop, look, listen, then wait, and then your turn, or your turn to copy, or your turn to do. So the executive functioning skill here is task initiation. Can they start and do something and complete it? So the ability to begin projects without undue procrastination in an efficient and timely manner. So yeah, so in pre-K language, they get up and go. Okay, they get up and go. So do you ever have trouble getting started on a task? Sometimes for our little guys, and even our older guys too, it can be a lot to just even know where to start, right? So in our younger years, we're really breaking those tasks down into simple steps. So if your direction has 3 steps to it, then we're breaking it down like first this, then this, then this. So bringing it down so it's manageable, it's more digestible. They can actually picture themselves doing it and completing it, rather than just saying, okay, I need you to do this, 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 and this, right? So we want to break it down. First this, then this, and then what's next, right? So and then modeling what to do. So, an adult model is huge. Having a model of maybe what the completed, say you're doing a craft, what the completed craft is. And then, but showing step by step again, how do we do this? How do we get from the first step to the end result, right? So modeling what to do. So they have something to look at, someone to look at and see what they're doing. We use visuals all the time to support kind of understanding of the task and what to do first. So again, I had talked about the first then. So first this and then this, but we could actually have a visual strip of, like, say it's a class. So first we're going to color, then we're going to cut, and then we're going to glue. So we have a picture of coloring, we have a picture of cutting, and we have a picture of gluing, so that they have that visual to refer to, right? So that helps them. So that can actually help them be more independent as well, and get up and go and start something without us always having to be there to say, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to do this. It lets them build independence, because they can look at the picture and they'll say, coloring. Okay, that's right. I'm supposed to color my picture first. And then they'll look and see what's next. Oh, cutting. Okay, I got to cut my picture out. And then say gluing. So that's the last step. So they get their glue stick. And yeah, so if they have the visual, they can do that on their own. And then that also builds pride and confidence, and gets them excited about learning and doing new things as well. So yeah, sometimes we have to give them lots and lots of support to be able to do that. And the idea is that we give lots of support in the beginning, and we build their skill set so that we can start to withdraw some of those supports and build that independence. And when they're learning these skills, like young in life in pre-K, when you're building that independence, and then when they go on to kindergarten, they've already got that skill set. They go on to grade 1, it continues to build and build and build. So we're creating and helping these kids become independent learners and active learners. So when we talk about executive functioning skills, some people are like, well, they're just little. That's for older kids, but not necessarily. If we treat it and approach it in a developmentally appropriate way, then we are setting them up for success with these prerequisite skills. Let's see what's next here. So we've done the stop, we've done the look, we've done the listen, and we've done the do. So that's the get up and go, or the get up and do. So our next, yes, and so that correlates with task initiation when we're looking back at that list of executive functioning skills. So how do we do this? How do we teach the script for learning? Again, visuals are the first place I would start is with the stop, the look, and the listen. So we do actually teach this explicitly in the classrooms, in our pre-K classrooms, just to get the kids to know what that even means. Because when you get little guys, maybe they don't even know what these things mean. Maybe we tell them to stop, but maybe they don't even know what stop actually means or what it looks like in relation to their bodies, right? So we really are going to break it down into its components. So we're really going to focus on stop. We're really going to focus on look. We're really going to focus on listen, wait, and then do. So we're going to teach these specifically and explicitly. So how do we do that? So I'm speaking as how we would kind of do that in a classroom, but this can easily be done at home as well. So if we're looking at stop, so typically I would do a circle and in the classroom, and we sit down, and I wouldn't be focusing on all of these at once. I would pick one thing, maybe even just one thing for the week, right? So the first thing we're going to focus on is stop. So what does that mean? It means stop what you were doing. It means a quiet body. So we're physically showing them what it actually means. So I might start playing with something, and then the teacher will say stop, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll put my toys down. So I'm modeling this for them. And then I've got my quiet body so that they can actually see what quiet body means and what actual stop means. So we're using the visuals. We might be using a gesture, stop, and then demonstrating. So we could, and I had mentioned this before, but you might work on stop doing like songs that have a freeze dance. So freeze, oh, that means stop, right? So you're linking freeze with stop, because most of them know what freeze means because they love to play those games, right? It could be a game like red light, green light, right? So red light means stop. So then we bring it back to the stop. Oh, look, our bodies are quiet. We're not moving. So there's lots of different ways that you could teach that, but just teaching it in a fun way, but so that they can practice it themselves, right? They practice it over and over during some of these fun activities. And then they really start to learn what stop. So when we use that language later in the classroom, stop, they link it with what they've learned. So they know to stop their bodies. So you might work on that for a day. You might work on that for a week. You might work on that for a month, depending on the kids that you're working with or depending on your own children. So then the next step is look. So yeah, look is one thing. You could look really quickly, right? Like look like really, really quickly and then on to something else. But when we're talking about look means, okay, looking means you're looking at the speaker, the person that is talking. We want to have our eyes on the person that is talking. And we're watching what they're doing. So it's not just like a quick look, but we're also engaging and watching. So watching is more like look could be a bit passive, but watching is that you're actually watching what they're doing. So we kind of teach that. Look at the speaker, who's talking. Okay, our eyes should see them and they should see our eyes. And then watching what they're doing. So, oh, okay, we're watching Miss P, but what is she doing? Oh, I see what she's doing. Okay, she's clapping her hands. Okay, or she's drawing a snowman on the board. So we're really looking and watch. So they know what look means. It's not just a quick, oh yeah, I see her, and then off and running and doing what you were doing before, right? It's maintaining that looking and watching. So again, that might be something that, you know what, and you could work on that in many different ways, like even the book, like brown bear, what do you see, right? I see a red bird looking at me. Oh, look, yeah, he's looking at, so linking it to maybe some fun stories. It could maybe I spy a red, I don't know, something red. I spy something red. So then, okay, we're all going to look for something red. We are looking for something red. So yeah, just like kind of repetition using that concept and helping them understand what look actually means. But yeah. So then the next one is listen. So we've got our stop, we've got our look, Now the next one is listen. So listen to what the speaker is saying. So we're stopping, we're quiet body, we're looking at our teacher. Now we're turning our ears on and we're going to listen. What are they saying? Can you hear that? What are they saying? Okay, and then you could play listening games where they have to listen for different things. Like you could play like, I don't know, different like animal sounds or something. And so they have to listen. Oh, what was that? You hear a moo. Oh, did you hear that? Moo. What animal is that? A cow. Oh, you were listening. I like how you were listening to what sound they made. Good job, right? So just kind of over teaching kind of what listening means, right? And then wait. Wait is always tricky because attention spans can be short at this age, right? So waiting, what does wait mean? We tell them to wait, but do they know what that actually means? So wait until the speaker has finished talking or finished telling you what to do or showing you what to do. So we have to wait. This is a sign for wait. And we often use this in the classroom lots, right? Okay, we're waiting. So because sometimes they'll say, your teacher might say, okay, we're going to go line up at the door. And we're going to go line up at the door. And then they're up and at the door and they haven't listened to everything that she said, right? Or he said. So, oh, wait. Our teacher's not done. We need to stop, look, and listen. We need to wait. So just showing them that what wait means. It means that we're waiting until the speaker has finished talking or directing or showing us what we have to do. And that's a new concept. A lot of kids don't know what that one actually means. And then do basically means it's your turn, right? So you've listened, you've looked, you've listened, you've waited. Now it's your turn, right? So they're waiting, and that's hard for them. That's kind of like that response inhibition, that waiting is really hard, right? So now it's your turn. So then we want them to either imitate what we're doing or follow the directions that we gave them, right? So doing means that we're going to do what the teacher did. Or we're going to do what the visuals show us to do. So just getting up and doing. Some kids, they'll stand there and they're a little afraid. Maybe they're afraid to make a mistake, or they're just not quite sure. They don't want to be wrong. Sometimes you'll see them kind of looking around at their peers to see what they're doing, right? And that's a cue to them for what them to do. So kids might need a different level of support depending on the child around that kind of do piece. It's your turn. And again, we always kind of start out with lots of support if they need it. And then we try and like less and less and less support to build that independence and build those skills to be able to get things done, right? So I mean, that could take a long time. You might teach it, like, depending on the age of the children and depending on the skills of the children, you might teach all of those in a day, or you might take a week to teach them, or you might take a month to teach them, and that's okay. We kind of follow their lead, meet them where they're at, and then we go from there. So, continue on with how to teach the script for learning. So practicing. So now we've already gone through what exactly the different concepts mean. So now we're going to practice the concepts, right? So the script for learning can be practiced throughout all parts of the day. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It's really just getting in lots of opportunities for them to practice, stop, look, listen, wait, and do. So, like I said, it can be practiced throughout all parts of the day. I'm speaking more to school, but I mean, this is applicable at home as well, right? So I would say start by doing something very satiable or visual. So usually I'll start with like some big gross motor actions that are easy to see. They're very satiable. They're easy to see. You almost can't miss them, right? So you're going to get them to stop. We're going to use our visual. Okay, guys, we'll stop. Look. So you're watching me, looking at me, and listening. So you get them to stop, look, listen. And then you're going to get them to wait and then imitate what you did. So you might like clap hands. So that's really easy to see, and it's easy to hear too. So you're going to practice this and similar actions like stomping your feet, jumping up and down, things that are really out there and easy to see. So you'll do that a little bit with them. Stop, look, listen. I would clap, and then waiting. Now it's your turn, and they would clap. Most kids will get that because it's easy to see. Some kids might miss it if they're looking the other way. They haven't got the stop and the look yet. They're looking the other way, and so they might not do it. They might look to their friends and then see that they're clapping, so they'll start to clap, right? But we really just teach, okay, guys, you got to really watch me. You got to really look at me. See what you don't want to miss what I'm going to do. So then you'll clap your hands or do some big action, right? So then once you've done that and they start to get that a little bit, so they're getting pretty consistent at being able to do what you did, then you're going to try something a little less visible, right? So maybe blinking your eyes, touching your ear, like really kind of nonchalantly, snapping your fingers. I can't snap my fingers, so that was a really bad example, but they really need to be watching you. So if you're doing something a little more subtle, they really need to be like eagle eyes on you to pick up what you did so that they can imitate it, right? So that one's a little bit harder, and that takes a little bit more teaching around it. But you'll see, like, some kids will be on it, no problem. But then you'll see quite a few kids are like, they'll miss it, right? And you're like, oh, what did I do? And they'll be like, oh, I don't know, right? I'm like, okay, let's try again. So you might have to practice that a little bit more so that they know that they really, really, really need to be watching you and listening, right? So these actions are like, so that's the looking, right? So these are but then we could also do some more auditory, or I guess I have examples here for the next, for this one. So yeah, we did this one. So stop, look, listen, wait. Now your turn, right? So we did that one. So then maybe it's something a little more subtle. Stop, look, and listen, but we're always using that language. Stop, look, listen, wait. And then I might just do a really quick touch of my ear, or maybe I'll just scratch my nose, something not big, right? And then, you'll get a handful of them that will be able to copy, and then some of them will miss, and then we'll review it. And so they'll realize, oh, it's just something super little, so I need to really, really watch. Then we might want to go to auditory tasks. So instead of the visual ones, right? So let's try that with auditory. So try making a sound for them to imitate. So start like with a loud animal sound, like a horse, neigh, neigh. So we go stop, look, listen, neigh, neigh. And then I'd wait, your turn. And then they would imitate the sound, right? But that's pretty loud and out there. But then you move to something softer and not as visual, like neigh, I'm opening my mouth quite wide, neigh, neigh, they can see my lips moving, right? But maybe let's try something a little softer so they have to turn on their bionic ears and really be listening. So yeah, we're working on the script for learning, right? That response inhibition and that sustained attention. So let's move to something softer, like maybe a snake sound. So stop, look, and listen, wait. So you can't see anything. I'm making sound, but my mouth isn't moving, right? So then they have to listen. And you might make it really soft too. Or it could be a tongue click. See a little bit of movement there, but it's still more subtle than the neigh, neigh. So yeah, so let's go to the next one. So yeah, just I do have some kind of cards that I leave in the classroom, so it's an easy go-to at circle time or whatever they're doing. So stop, look, listen, and then meow, meow, right? And then your turn, so they'll imitate the meow, meow. It's very evident, but we really, really want them to get this concept and kind of over teach it. So the next one would be something maybe a little less, like I said, the snake sound. You can't really see anything moving, so it's more subtle. So stop, look, listen, stop, look, listen, and then waiting, your turn. And then they make the snake sound. And then again, when kids miss it, then we talk about that. Oh my goodness, maybe we didn't have our ears out. Maybe we weren't listening. Or maybe we forgot to look at the teacher, right? So we're just really over teaching, that kind of stop, look, listen, wait, and do. So once you've had time to kind of go over the script for learning, teach all the components kind of in a structured, and even at home, maybe it's just you and your child one-on-one doing this, right? Or maybe siblings too, one-on-one doing this. You can move it to all parts of your day. And really, the more opportunities that they get to practice that stop, look, and listen, the more they're going to just internalize it, learn it. It becomes more automatic. So then when those expectations are at school, they just know what to do, right? And it sets them up for success. So in school, there's like, when can we practice this? Teachers say, well, when you're lining up, even if you're lining up to go out for recess or you're lining up to go to the bathroom, just do a couple rounds when they're all standing there. You've kind of got their attention. Just say, hey, stop, look, listen, and then do a action one and do a auditory one. Just quick, even if it's 2 or 3 times, it takes like seconds to do. Table time activities, can practice a script while doing a following direction task. Okay, guys, stop, look, listen, draw a circle, stop, look, listen, put 2 eyes on it. So so if you're just doing a following direction or a craft, you could do it there. Just throw in a few rounds of that. Circle time. Practice the script before reading a book or doing a circle. Okay, we're going to read a book, but first, everyone stop, look, listen. Okay, and then you'll do something little, right? Like maybe stick out your tongue. And they really had to be watching you to do that. And yeah, you guys saw me. Good job. I love how you guys stopped and you looked and you listened. Good job, guys. Dismissal time, practice it before singing the goodbye song or taking your shoes off or handing out the envelopes to go home. Like just throw it in there. Like I said, it takes seconds. So like, what are some ways that we could do this at home? How could you practice it at home? Let's see. Before leaving the house, like everyone's at the back door, before you go out the door, just throw in a couple rounds of practicing stop, look, listen. Before you eat, everyone's at the table, throw in a couple rounds. When you're in the bathtub, you've got their undivided attention, throw in a couple rounds of stop, look, and listen. Maybe when you're waiting in the line, you're at the grocery store, you got all your groceries ready, now you're in the line up at the till, so you got a couple minutes to spare, throw in some stop, look, listen. So you can throw it in, even if you're like in the car, you're going through the drive-through, you're at the park. It's easy just to throw that extra practice in there, and it just knowing that you're cementing those skills for your kids and you're setting them up for success, for future school success. And it's pretty simple to do and easy to kind of work into any time of your day. Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to play. I see my time is almost up. I want to play one video for you, and it's super fast. And then my challenge to you is to try and kind of see how you can fit this into your everyday life without it being a work project, right? So maybe even try 3 times a week. Try and do it in some situation at home where you're doing 3 to 4 rounds of stop, look, listen with your kids. And then we're at our thank you. Thank you for listening. I'm going to play our goodbye video here. It's a Cookie Monster, and it's focusing on response inhibition and being able to stop and think.
Oh, nom 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 nom.
Just knowing that this is not grammatically correct.
Me get this feeling when me see a cookie on a plate. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, oh me no can wait. But now me know that self-control is something me must learn. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. Ah, this not easy. Me get the feeling when a chocolate chip be on a dish. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, that me only wish. But now me know that self-control is something me must try. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. wait. When we lose control, when we on the brink, need to just calm down. Me need to stop and think. Me need control me some. Yeah, that's the way to live. And then me functioning like an executive. Me wait, me want it, but me wait. Oh, boy, that delicious. Me get this feeling when a box of cookies on the shelf. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, can't control myself. But now me know that self-control is something me must do. Me want to grab it, want to eat it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. When we lose control, when we have no doubt, we have strategies that can calm me down. We can talk to self, we can stand up straight, we can take deep breath, we can self-regulate. Me wait, me want it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. Me want it, but me wait. Me wait, but me wait. Okay, me waited long enough. Cookie! Nom 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 oh, nom 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 nom. Yeah!
Thank you, everyone. There's some references at the end of my slideshow there. Hope everyone has a good day. Take care.